We've seen the heated debates. Fans online are endlessly arguing which combat sport takes the crown, boxing or mixed martial arts. We've all seen the legendary trash talk, the predictions, and the speculation. People have been arguing for decades about who would win if Conor McGregor faced off against Floyd Mayweather in the octagon instead of the boxing ring. But is it as simple as that? What if we took a step back and really examined the core differences between these two combat sports? Which one truly deserves the title of the most superior? Let's start by exploring the roots of boxing, often called the sweet science. The sport is steeped in history, going all the way back to ancient Greece, where it was known as pygmasia. Back then, there were no gloves, no weight classes, and no time limits. Fighters used leather straps called himantes to protect their hands, and matches didn't have rounds. They fought until one competitor could no longer continue. Imagine the intensity of a fight without any time breaks. Think about it, Butterbean and Manny Pacquiao in a no-holds-barred ancient fight. The idea of weight classes or strategy as we know it didn't exist. As brutal as it was, boxing's legacy continued through the ages. Ancient Greek myths even mentioned boxing. Apollo, the god of music and prophecy, was said to be the first ever to win a boxing match at the Olympics. Fast forward to modern times and boxing has evolved into the structured and regulated sport we recognize today.
Nice 1-2 there by Conor. Oh, big shot! There's the power of Otta! He may not recover from this!
In 1867, the Marquess of Queensberry rules revolutionized boxing by introducing standardized rounds, gloves, and a 10-count for knockdowns. This was a monumental shift, transforming boxing from a chaotic no-holds-barred brawl into the more controlled and strategic sport we see today. Imagine the difference in the strategy from those early ancient matches to the organized, technique-driven fights we see in boxing today. Before those rules were formalized, boxing was truly a grueling spectacle. Take the legendary fight between Andy Bowen and Jack Burke in 1893. This match lasted a staggering 7 hours and 19 minutes, over 110 rounds. That's more than 22 5-round UFC fights in one night, and it wasn't even for a title. It was a brutal contest of endurance, where both fighters collapsed from exhaustion. That match led to a massive overhaul in boxing, introducing limits to rounds and other important reforms. Imagine the sheer willpower required to fight for so long without the modern luxuries we have today, like better training facilities or supplements. By the early 20th century, boxing had gained significant traction. In 1916, the New York State Athletic Commission was formed to oversee the regulation of boxing, followed by the establishment of the National Boxing Association in 1921, which eventually became the World Boxing Association in 1962. With organizations like these, boxing cemented its status as a major sport, producing legends like Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier,
glorious game, and it's all over, I think. Yep, it's all over.
George Foreman,
Joe is standing. There he goes. 3 times. The fight is stopped.
and Sugar Ray Leonard.
Polish, the kind of know-how that he showed in the Maurice Richard Arena and in the Montreal.
These athletes are remembered as some of the greatest in the sport's history. Boxing has seen different eras, from the dawn of the modern rules to the golden age of heavyweight fights. But as time went on, things started changing. On the other hand, mixed martial arts is a much newer phenomenon. Born in 1993 with the founding of the UFC,
I'd like to introduce you to what is called the Ultimate Fighting Challenge, to where they're having different fights, different types of disciplines: karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, savate, kickboxing, sumo wrestling.
Not a ring at all.
MMA quickly rose to prominence by showcasing the brutal yet skillful elements of multiple combat sports. Early UFC events were nothing short of chaotic, no rules, no weight classes, and a wild mix of different martial arts styles competing to prove which one was the most dominant.
And quickly Herrera shoots the leg.
And Herrera's a very good grappler here.
Oh my, elbows in number by Goodridge, and that is it.
Imagine this, the first ever UFC event in 1993 was a no-holds-barred affair. Fighters from different backgrounds, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, kickboxing, and boxing, as well as others, were thrown into the octagon with no time limits. The goal, to win by knockout, submission, or corner stoppage. It wasn't until Royce Gracie, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist, dominated the first tournament that people realized this wasn't just about brute strength. It was about the versatility and adaptability of the fighter. And early UFC was not for the faint heart. start. There were only 3 fouls prohibited, no biting, no eye gouging, and no groin shots. Can you imagine what the UFC would look like if those rules still existed today? The brutal spectacle would have taken to a whole new level, but as the sport grew, changes were made. Weight classes were introduced. Rules were refined to protect fighters. Today's UFC is a highly regulated sport with standard time limits, medical checks, and more defined rules to ensure both safety and entertainment. The battle behind the scenes, fighter pay, and financial realities. Now that we've examined the rich history and the technical aspects of both sports, let's look at the real fight, the one that happens behind the scenes. Fighter pay. In the world of combat sports, one thing is abundantly clear: money matters. That's why they call it prize fighting. Over the years, UFC fighter pay has been a topic of major controversy. For example, compare the payouts for fighters in boxing to those in MMA.
The UFC is making billions and billions and billions of dollars, but still only paying their fighters 12%.
When you're talking about pay-per-view, then you're negotiating pay-per-view, and then you see number like 1.25 pay buys and stuff like that, and the pay-per-view is going from $60 to $80 in the past 5 years, and you realize that the 0.25 that is on top of it is out of the $20 that's been added on. I'm like, come on, man, it's not my first pay-per-view contract, and
just wasn't enough money.
It wasn't even about the money, even how it was structured, even how it was. I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
I know so many fighters that are living in the Jackson's MMA gym because they can't afford to have their own apartment. And they're UFC fighters.
They just fought.
So this is sad. And if I have to have a bad relationship with Dana, sit out for 2 years, 3 years, to bring light to what's happening, then these are the things that people remember you for more than winning belts.
I don't know, dude. Like, the problem with the UFC, dude, is they don't pay anybody. They don't pay guys.
Like, for like, I would say like,
they pay for
champion contenders.
So they pay the top 5 and pretty good, but they don't pay, like, you would make more money working at for a year.
Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford raked in anywhere from $50 million to $100 million for their respective bouts. Meanwhile, UFC fighters earn nowhere near that amount. At UFC Noche, no fighter took home more than $1 million. This difference in earnings is staggering. It's not just about the payouts either. Think about the sponsorship deals. Boxers like Canelo and Floyd Mayweather secure lucrative sponsorships and endorsement deals that contribute to their fortunes. UFC fighters, on the other hand, are limited in their sponsorship opportunities due to the UFC's exclusive contracts. It's no wonder UFC fighters have been speaking out more and more about fighter pay.
The top 5 gates in combat sports history come in boxing, and they come in the last 10 years. So my question to you is, why then do you want to make sweeping changes to the Muhammad Ali Reform Act that is meant to protect fighters to bring about a business model that currently has your company already paid out $375 million in antitrust lawsuits and has 2 potential pending class action lawsuits on the way as well?
Well, this is obviously a long discussion. If you want to talk to me about that, set up an interview. This isn't about me and my business. It's about these 2 guys on Saturday night.
My follow-up, Dana, earlier this week, the California State Athletic Commission had a hearing about TKO trying to bring those changes to the Ali Act, and it was postponed 3 months.
Listen, I get it. You want to showboat right now. Set up an interview with me if this is really what you want to talk about.
It's America, baby.
If you have
First
questions for these 2, ask them and you can set up an interview with me.
Dana, my follow-up is, if TKO can't make those changes to the Ali Act, will you still invest in the sport of boxing? Will you compete in the market?
Listen, if you want to be let's do it in private and we can do an interview.
Yes or no?
If you want to showboat, I get it.
But then came the antitrust lawsuit filed by fighters like Kung Lee and Nate Quarry. The lawsuit alleged that the UFC was using its monopoly power to suppress fighter wages. After years of legal battles, the UFC eventually agreed to a $375 million settlement.
So this is why I think they're complaining about fighter pay. I think they should get paid more.
Right.
I think everybody should get paid more. I'm thinking it's a crazy way to make a living. I think you should get the most amount of money you can possibly get.
Yep.
But it's also a business. And I think that if they are struggling as much as I think they are, I don't talk finances with them, but I know that WME, people who own it, they're hurting.
Yeah.
Bad. They're laying people off.
Yeah.
Most businesses are hurting.
But here's the kicker. Anderson Silva, another UFC fighter, received a staggering $10.3 million from the settlement based on his value and contributions to the sport. This case marked a turning point in the ongoing battle for fair play in the UFC, highlighting the importance of ensuring fighters get compensated fairly for their contributions to the sport. Cross-promotional fights, a glimpse into the future? Now let's talk about the big question on everyone's mind. Will we ever see a UFC versus boxing match? While UFC President Dana White has been famously opposed to the idea of cross-promotional fights, suggesting never to the possibility.
One last one for you, Dana. You're now officially promoting boxing shows. We have UFC lightweight champion Ilya Topuria saying he's going to knock out Terrence Crawford. Can we expect some crossover boxing matches like you did with Mayweather-McGregor moving forward?
I certainly hope not.
There's been some shifting in the tides. White's stance could change. Why? Because business matters. The financial incentives for cross-promotional fights are enormous, and it's becoming harder and harder for promoters to ignore. A UFC versus boxing match could break every record, perhaps even surpassing the legendary Mayweather versus McGregor fight, which generated over $600 million. Think about it, the UFC has already started promoting boxing events through partnerships like Riyadh Season. White himself has been making moves that suggest a crossover could happen one day. If the financial rewards are massive enough, the powers that be might decide to pull the trigger on a super fight that brings both boxing and MMA together.
Sheikh Turki and his crew found out quick that it's a lot tougher than it seems, and came to me and wanted to work out a deal where we run the business.
So which sport is truly superior? After considering the history, technical aspects, financial factors, and future possibilities, what's the verdict? Is boxing the timeless king of combat sports? Or does MMA have the edge in versatility, popularity, and the future? Both sports demand incredible dedication and skill. Boxing may have a longer tradition, but MMA has proven to be a dynamic and ever-evolving sport. And when it comes to the future of combat sports, one thing is for sure, MMA is here to stay, but boxing is not going anywhere. Both have their strengths, and both have contributed to shaping the landscape of modern sports. But the real challenge is how fighters are treated. Boxing has long rewarded its superstars, but MMA is still playing catch-up. Fighters in the UFC are now demanding more, and the future of fighter pay could change the entire landscape of the sport. Before you pick your side, why not give it a try yourself? Whether it's boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or wrestling, there's a whole world of combat sports out there for you to explore. What do you think? Is boxing the superior sport, or does MMA hold the crown? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe for more insights into the world of combat sports. We'll see you next time. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Sportskeeda MMA for more fight stories and hot takes, and drop your thoughts in the comments section below.